This workshop is possible because of the very generous support of the CTA in the form of a grant valued at just under 118,000 euros under a partnership agreement signed by the CTA and the CRFM in October of last year. But CTA's true commitment and support goes well beyond this figure. In fact, over the past 80 years or so, the CTA has supported a series of projects that have enabled the fisherfolk in the region to organize and strengthen and revitalize their primary and national organizations, and indeed the establishment of the regional network of fisherfolk organization that is co-hosting this workshop. And indeed, the CNFO is today a very active organization in the region that is advocating for the fisherfolk and the interest of the ordinary fisherfolk across the region. The specific objective of this workshop is to facilitate effective engagement of fisherfolk organizations with those persons who are involved in policy development and decision making affecting the fisheries sector. In particular, the workshop will be paying special attention to the CARICOM Common Fisheries Policy, the Castries Declaration on IUU fishing, and the recently developed Strategy Action Plan and Proposal on Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Management in Small-Scale Fisheries Governance and Management in the region, as well as, I'm sure, they'll be looking at the implementation of the ecosystems approach to fisheries in the region. The broader goal of all these interventions really is to contribute to the development of a sustainable and profitable fishing industry, the achievement of a better quality of life and standards of living for fisherfolk and fishing communities that rely on the fishing industry for their livelihood, and also to enhance the food and nutrition security of the people of the region. This can only be achieved through more effective governance and management of the fisheries resource systems in the region. I want, therefore, Mr. Chairman, to say a few words about the challenges of fisheries management. But before I do so, I want to share with you a brief overview on the state of regional fisheries to highlight the importance of the sector and to underscore the urgent need to strengthen the policy framework and improve the effectiveness of our interventions to ensure that the sector remains profitable and sustainable. Fish and fish products are among the most highly internationally traded commodity in the world. According to the latest FAO report on the state of world fisheries and aquaculture that was published last year, more than 56 million metric tons, or roughly 38% of global fish production, is traded, and this has a value of just over $109 billion in 2010. The level of trade at the global level has been growing at an accelerating pace in recent years in response to increased demand and rising production, due mainly to increased aquaculture production. In 2010, total fish production from the domestic fleet in the CARICOM countries was reported to be 161,000 metric tons, of which just under 150,000 came from marine fisheries and approximately 11,000 tons came from aquaculture production. Total production has been steadily growing. This production is traded, and this has a value of just over $109 billion in 2010. The level of trade at the global level has been growing at an accelerating pace in recent years in response to increased demand and rising production, due mainly to increased aquaculture production. In 2010, total fish production from the domestic fleet in the CARICOM countries was reported to be 161,000 metric tons, of which just under 150,000 came from marine fisheries and approximately 11,000 tons came from aquaculture production. Total production has been steadily growing since the 1980s. Total fish production in the region is valued at approximately 700 million United States dollars, and that's the ex-factory estimated value. That doesn't include the value added from processing, which would, which would probably double the value if we were to take that into consideration. The region exported approximately 59,000 metric tons of fish and fish product, valued at 252 million United States dollars in 2009. At the same time, the region imported 75,000 metric tons of fish, valued at 218,000 United States dollars. Fish plays an important role in the food and nutrition security of the region, providing vital source of protein, minerals, and micronutrients in the diet of Caribbean people, particularly the poor and vulnerable members of society. Annual per capita consumption in the region is fairly high, with an estimated average per capita consumption of between 25 to 30 kilograms per annum. The health benefits of eating fish regularly have been extensively studied and well documented in the scientific literature. Fish is high in protein, minerals, and other micronutrients, and an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids. And these are all vital nutrients that we need, and particularly children need, in order to develop fully. Finally, over 180,000 persons in the region gain meaningful and stable employment in the fisheries sector and can therefore take care of themselves and their families from the income that they generate from fishing. But within the Caribbean region, most of the traditional commercially important species are believed to be fully developed and in some cases even overexploited. At the same time, there are some resources, some of the non-traditional species that are still underutilized. To obtain optimum long-term sustainable benefits from the resources available to us in our waters, we need to strengthen fisheries governance and management in the region. But fisheries governance and management are very complex subjects involving a combination of biology, ecology, statistics, oceanography, economics, law, politics, international relations, and interactions among a wide range of stakeholders, among other challenges. The core of fisheries management, however, is to a great degree about regulating the impact of human harvesting activities on fish stocks, with the aim of ensuring that the stocks in question are maintained at levels that will permit sustained harvesting for the long term. Limits must therefore be placed on fishing to ensure that it does not degrade the natural productivity of the fish stocks or indeed the surrounding marine ecosystems. Today we recognize that we have to pay more attention to the impact of fishing on non-target species and the functioning of the wider ecosystems in order to maintain marine biodiversity. This is commonly referred to as the ecosystem approach to fisheries. It recognizes that fishing and other activities take place within complex communities of organisms and habitats, and that fishing is one of the many human activities that impact on these marine environments. The main goal of ecosystem approach to fisheries is to ensure the sustainability of catches without compromising the inherent structure and functioning of the marine ecosystem. There are a number of unique challenges in managing marine fisheries and in applying the ecosystem approach to fisheries. Firstly, it is usually necessary to have considerable knowledge and information about the stocks and the associated ecosystems. Very often this knowledge is inadequate and incomplete. In such situations, states and regional fisheries organizations are required to apply the precautionary approach. It requires that fisheries management measures be more cautious when information is uncertain, unreliable, or inadequate. And furthermore, the absence of adequate scientific information should not be used as a reason for postponing or failing to take management and conservation measures. Another major challenge facing fisheries management is the fact that fishing takes place over vast areas of seas and ocean space. It is therefore often very difficult to monitor and to enforce the management and conservation measures that are required to ensure sustainability of the fisheries and protect the ecosystems. For this reason, illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing is a major challenge in the region and globally. These are only a few of the many challenges that we must deal with in order to ensure optimum long-term benefits from the fishing industry. In addition, you all know another major general challenge that we face in the region is the effective implementation of the policies and strategies that we adopt. Implementation is a challenge in CARICOM as well as at the national level. And we have to improve on the implementation of the measures that we know we must implement and that we have agreed upon.